Welcome to this podcast episode where I am really looking forward to speak about some of the taboos that we tend to hide behind, especially in spiritual communities. There can be a tendency to shun away certain parts of ourselves, certain parts of our lives, and place exalted importance on other parts. Well, life is about equilibrium, so I wanted to have this conversation because the taboos that we have is also the dark crevices of our lives and the dark corners or the caves of darkness that we may not be willing to look at. And it's really important that we cultivate a holistic approach to the way that we seek out spirituality, to the way that we seek out living a conscious life, to the way that we seek out to become integrated in our experience. And so this is a follow-on from the integration conversations we've been having, but taking a look at it from a wider scope and understanding and appreciating that, hey, there is a bigger game at play here. And if I don't make myself aware of it and I don't actively engage with it, at some point, life will force me to look at it. And so we might as well, with joy and enthusiasm, look at how we can begin to improve and how we can begin to bring light to the dark crevices of our lives. And so some of the big taboos, I guess one in particular that I feel inspired to speak to on this podcast is the taboo of money, right? And oftentimes in spiritual circles, I'll see to the point where people will push money away from them out of this play. And I call it a play because it is a play, out of this play of humility. Right? I was saying, no, like I don't need that. And the reality is that we live in a world that without money we can't get very far. One of my friends beautifully said it once that money is kind of like oxygen. You don't need it when you have it, but then when you don't have any of it, it's kind of like you can't really breathe because, and I mean, that applies for anyone that's living in the modern world in any kind of expression. The only examples where it doesn't apply is, of course, people that are still living in completely intact tribal nations and people that are living completely off grid. And that's a very, very small percentage. So I want to speak to the majority and I want to speak to the importance of this because what I love about money is the fact that when we look at it energetically, when we look at it spiritually, it's got profound qualities. It has an exactness to it, right? So we have an agreed system of measuring money that is absolutely exact. When you're paying someone $10, you're paying them exactly $10. When you're giving someone $12.35 change, you're giving them exactly $12.35 change. So what does that align us to? It aligns us to precision. It aligns us to the capacity to be exact. Now, if we're not willing to look at our lives and our financial status, then that's a big part of us that is okay with lacking precision. So this particularly speaks to at times when people are in debt, when they owe people money, when perhaps they're mismanaging money, or perhaps they've mismanaged money and they still haven't looked at it because it's too painful to consider the losses. And I've been in every number of those categories. And I can say without a doubt that life was a lot simpler and a lot easier when I looked at it. And I said, all right, let me address this. Let me look at it for what it is first and foremost, so that the monster can stop growing in the cupboard. Let me pull it out, rinse it off. Let me take a look at it and let me understand exactly where to from here. Because as long as I'm avoiding the darkness, the monster continues to grow. The moment I turn and face it is the moment I'm liberated. And from there, there's just a bit of work to do to sort things out. So the other thing that I love about money is, particularly when you look at it in English, is it's got so many words that pull from water. And so if you have any connection to water, it's not that difficult to create really clean and crisp connections with the energy of money as well. And when you can begin to create a clean connection with money, that's when your life will clean up. Because you're going to start to look at things with a certain kind of precision. You're going to appreciate the fact that when you have a bill and you're putting it in someone's hand or you're receiving it from someone's hand, you understand that you're actually receiving an energy. And money has a heat to it. So I'm in Mexico at the moment, so all I'm working with is Mexican bills. So when someone hands you money, there's an energy associated to that. Money can be tainted But because if it's come from sources that are dark, let's say, just to use a general term there, if it's come from sources that weren't clean, of work that wasn't done in integrity, or perhaps where lies were put forth or things like that. And then at the same time, money can be a blessing, because if it comes with good, pure, clean intent, it can absolutely support us and bless us in our lives. So it does have an association to it, and it has the capacity to carry these energies that I'm speaking about. Now, what I love about it, as I was saying, was when you look at money in the English language and the way that we refer to it, where do we hold our money? We hold it in the bank, just like the banks of the rivers. We speak about it as being currency, just like the currents of the waters. We speak about cash flow. So it's got all these qualities that are similar in expression to water. So to me, the way that I experience money is not too dissimilar from the energy of water, and it helps me to appreciate and understand it and create a map, an energetic map of understanding it. Now, the other thing that is absolutely critical with this is that, just like water, if you don't have a place to keep it, it's not going to stick around. It's going to go elsewhere, right? So if you have a container to put your money in, then eventually it's going to accumulate that container. And as long as you're respectful enough and devoted enough to not touch the container, you know that you'll have a full container whenever you go back. This can equate to a savings account. Now, if those things aren't clearly defined, and sometimes they're savings accounts and sometimes they're spending accounts, then we can quickly lose track and it can discombobulate us. So money, again, comes back to this notion of precision, in that it's a very, very clear mirror. It's crystal clear. And in fact, so many times I've heard various coaches and speakers speak about the fact that money is nothing more than an amplifying instrument. It's like a magnifying glass. It puts a magnifying glass on us, on our lives, and it amplifies the person that we are. So if you're a bad person and you have more money, you'll probably just be a worse off person. If you're a good person and you do good deeds and you have more money, you'll probably just do better deeds. And I wanted to speak about this because I see it so important that there's so many people with good hearts, good intention, willing to do good deeds, and they don't have a clean relationship with this right here. And because of that, they stop themselves, they hinder themselves, they sometimes completely block themselves from expressing their gifts into the world and allowing themselves to be seen. Because in order to receive money, we do have to be seen, and we do have to be willing to be seen, and we do have to be willing to say, yes, thank you, I will receive in good spirit and joyfully. So these are some thoughts that have been circulating for me around money that are really important. Further on this conversation, what I wanted to speak about was, I mentioned it earlier, that people sometimes make this play of, I don't need the money, or something like this. You'll oftentimes hear this. And when you think about it, it really doesn't make sense. To even express those words is not just lacking intelligence, but it's lacking clean relationship with money. Because if you say, I don't need this, what do you think is going to happen? The likelihood of it circulating back to you is reducing in probability. But if you receive when it's given, then the likelihood of it circulating to you is increasing in probability. Now, one of the things that I've been witness to is oftentimes people make this play of humility out of being humble, and then not wanting to blur the lines with money, and then playing small for a large part of their life, or even their whole lives, playing very small. And this is key for me, because poverty and humility are not the same thing. You can be humble and wealthy, you can be poor and you can be humble. The two aren't mutually inclusive, they're exclusive of each other. You can have one and not the other, and you can have both, on both sides. So you can be wealthy and humble, you can be poor and humble, You can be wealthy and lack humility. You can be poor and lack humility. And the reason this is so important is because I see a common thread of it in spiritual circles, that people make this play. I call it the play of poverty, because it's not aligned accurately to being humble. It's aligned to being poor. And I'm not in favor of that at all. I'm in favor of people being wealthy. I'm in favor of people being in abundance. I'm in favor of people living the lives that they love. And I'm in favor of people having the resources to live the lives that are most inspiring to them, whether that means traveling, whether that means providing for their family, whatever that may mean. And so if we look at it through the lens of humility, which is, as far as I'm aware, a common thread across all spiritual cultures, they speak about the importance of humility so that we can learn, so that we can receive information. Well then, if I am truly humble, then I'd be humble enough to allow myself to learn how to be in good relationship with money, and how to be in good relationship with accumulating an abundance of it, so that I can continue to spread my reach, spread my wings, and spread my influence in ever wider and deeper ways, so that I can have greater influence and impact with the work that I do. That's my little spin on money. I see it as being so important in giving us the capacity to live a whole and full life, and giving us the capacity to live an integrated life, because we're not going to get very far as long as we're pushing this away, because this is an instrument, and it's neither good nor bad. It's an instrument, and just like a knife can be used to kill a person and it can be used to cook a meal, it's up to us on how we use this instrument, and it's up to us on how we relate to this instrument. So I'm going to close with these words, that I wish for you every blessing, that you open yourself up to the taboo of money, if that is a taboo for you, to look at the dark corners of where money may be negatively influencing you, on how you may be associating to it negatively, that you may bring that to the light, that you may become conscious of it, and that you may begin to apply yourself and develop a relationship with money that is clean, pure, transparent, and used in the most beneficial way for yourself and for all of those around you. See you on the next one, my friends.